think today we have seen a firm stake in the ground planted from both sides of politics of an issue that the next federal election will be fought over, whether it be later this year or early in 2025. Now, while the cost of living remains the bedrock issue, our energy future as a nation sits right in behind that and is as a generational issue as we will ever have, and it'll affect all of us and our children and their children. It's very clear Australians will now have a choice to make. Do you want a nuclear Australia? That's what you'll be voting on when the election comes around. No ifs, no buts, because the coalition under leader Peter Dutton and his team have crossed that Rubicon that no previous coalition government has been game enough to do. And at the same time, the Labor government under Anthony Albanese have picked their side. No nuclear and a massive taxpayer investment in renewable energy and a gamble that technology will deliver some silver bullet and catch up sometime soon to offer renewables other than the sun and the wind. Black and white, really. One side, the coalition, wants the complete energy package, some old coal, plenty of gas, a bit of wind, a bit of solar, and the final piece in the jigsaw, nuclear power. Now, I'll get to more of the Dutton plan shortly with the Shadow Environment spokesman, Jonathan Dunningham, but he'll be as part of our panel later in the show. But as reported by the Australian newspaper this morning, I think that the former ACTU boss, former federal cabinet minister, and the outgoing head of a government body pushing for net zero, one Gregg Combet, has belled the cat on his way out the door. Have a listen here.
Hundreds of billions of dollars in investment will be needed to achieve net zero. And the fact is, neither government funding nor private capital alone can meet that challenge. It will take both working together to secure the opportunities of Australia's net zero future.
We need to listen very carefully to what he said there. Combet, in a frankly for an ex-poly and a union boss, it was a stream of honest advice for Australians. He told us all workers on new green jobs will not be guaranteed to be paid as much in salary as they do working in emissions-intensive industries. How'd you like to hear that if you're a coal miner? He's told the miners, for example, we know you are being told by Chris Bowen and the PM and others you'll be able to transition into these new clean energy working jobs, but don't expect to be paid the same as you are now. I mean, gee, that's great. Think about that for a moment in the context of heading into an election where Labor wants to hang on to Labor seats in places like the Hunter Valley in New South Wales, Gladstone in Queensland, and the Latrobe Valley in Victoria. Now, Bowen, back from his private jet ride to Scone, would have choked on his muesli this morning, reading that Combet went on, and it seemed to give us all a very big hint at what might be in the budget next month. He went on, have a listen to this.
The government will lay out the next phase of its approach in the May budget, which will look to capitalise on Australia's comparative advantage in minerals and renewable energy, aiming to encourage large-scale investment in green industrial production.
A lot of it is going to come from you, the taxpayer. Now, remember, this bloke has impeccable Labor connections. This was at the press club yesterday, by the way. He said transforming Gladstone and other emitting centres would be a key national endeavour. Then this, he revealed the budget would contain, not might contain, but would contain a package to encourage large-scale investment in green industries. In shorthand, get set for you, the taxpayers, to be splashing huge amounts of your money on green projects that private enterprise won't invest in themselves. We saw that last week at the 2 jets were needed solar panel announcement in the Hunter Valley, $1 billion to make expensive solar panels. This is going to get very ugly. Combet, in that same speech yesterday, acknowledged governments might need to be big investors to de-risk projects and, in his words, adopt a long-term view before recovering any capital. In simple terms, look, this whole green experiment might work, it might not. But if we're going to give it a crack, taxpayers, you and me and all of the rest of us Australians, are going to have to stump up the dough, all at the same time, of course, as power bills stay high. Nuclear versus sun and wind, private enterprise versus a taxpayer-financed green dream. Big ideas from Canberra that whichever way you cut it, you'll be paying for. things are about to get very interesting.